Buzzpo today, further going into Second Amendment issues. Here, in this little insignificant speck of dust, that, how it could even be a state because it's so small, this little speck of dust that we call Texas, is hosts a story, and I'm not sure exactly which town in this little insignificant speck of dust, and I'm being sarcastic in case you haven't figured it out, but what town he originated from. But one gentleman decided that a great way to make some money really, really quick was to do his own Fast and Furious operation. So he legally bought up a bunch of guns, packed them in his truck, and decided to drive down to Mexico to sell them to the cartel to make a quick buck. I mean, he legally purchased them, right? He can do with them what he wants, right? Wrong. He got caught trying to go across the border into Mexico by our own Border Patrol and ICE agents, and was arrested, and is now facing the official charges for the allegations of attempting to smuggle weapons to a criminal element across international borders. So yeah, to that guy, good luck, buddy. Folks, he is not a law-abiding, reasonable gun owner. He's not part of the vast majority of gun owners. He's what we call an idiot. So, and a criminal one at that. So there's your Second Amendment news. So hopefully anybody listening to this has something to chime in about whether they think it was a smart move or not. You already know how I feel. If you feel otherwise and think that maybe, the guy was justified trying to sell guns to a criminal cartel that smuggles terrorists into our country who are bent on harming our citizens, go right ahead. We'll have that debate. Just have to keep it clean, folks. Just the facts. Back to that old dragnet normal phrase that you heard in almost every episode. Just the facts, ma'am. Just the facts. Yeah. So, that's the latest in the Second Amendment news that I have at the moment. Now, as I promised earlier in the show, I was going to talk about what I did last night. Talking about tracking down your local congressmen and senators and stuff. I did not go to a congressional town hall. No, I didn't. Nor did I go to one led by one of my senators. Nor did I even go to a state-level legislature type meeting. No, I went and got involved in city politics. I went and went outside my own district here in San Antonio and went to another district for the city councilman. I went to another city councilman's district because, and I was allowed to do this not just under a reporter's banner, which I could have pulled out press credentials and gotten in that way, but I went so as a concerned citizen to actually participate instead of just watch. And I was allowed to because my city council member is no longer a city council member. The seat is currently vacant, so I can go to whatever district I want as far as this particular subject was concerned with the meeting that I attended last night. And my former councilwoman is now the mayor of San Antonio. So that's why the seat's vacant. So we went over to a city budget council meeting, and there's several of these going around. They're actually going to the people in the various city council districts and asking them, okay, we balanced the budget, and some people are complaining about the way it's balanced, and we've actually allocated things pretty well here. So here's what the plan is. But before we go through it completely and try to set it in stone, What's your input? Is there some place where we're spending too much that we can cut back? Is there some place that we're not spending enough that maybe we need to reallocate? So what little minor fine-tuning do we need to do here? Well, of course, that segued to an actual big topic, and that is because in this city, 2/3 of all the city's revenue goes towards the police and fire departments. And the big item of contention, of course, it's not the salaries, it's not denying pay raises or anything like that. In fact, it's not even considering, laying anybody off or decreasing the force. In fact, they're looking at possibly increasing the number of police officers and firefighters on the ground, which is a good thing. But other government programs could be in jeopardy because they're not allowed to increase the budget beyond that 66% going to police and fire. And the police and fire, due to their unions, their health care coverage and their pensions are sucking up that much of the city's revenue. And by law, by Texas state law and the Texas state constitution, the city has to have a balanced budget. So, okay, what gets cut then? Do we cut out libraries? Yeah, that wouldn't go over too well. Do we cut out other essential services like solid waste removal? Yeah, I don't think that would go over too well either. Although solid waste removal is already listed as a restricted budgetary item. In other words, that cannot be cut. That's something that's going to be paid for, period, and it needs to be due to the health issues. Do we cut costs in educating our children? Do we cut maintaining the parks? Maintaining the streets, turning on street lights at night? What gets cut if we have to adjust for that those benefits for the police officers? And me, being the smart guy that I am, I went and attended, and one of the things I even mentioned face-to-face with the city managers, I know you're going baby steps here. I don't know if you consider this or not, and I know already with the small amount that you're talking about having them pay into of their own, that they're already doing all kinds of huge pushback. But I mentioned to her, look, I retired from the military, and yes, I got my pension, which is not very much. It's less of a percentage of what I made when I was in than the police are going to get when they retire from their job. As far as any kind of additional retirement services and pensions, I had to invest in that on my own. Now, they provided a program for it, but it's my money that went into it. There wasn't even a matching funds gig on that one. But, in the civilian realm, a lot of people get matching funds. So why not a matching funds pension program where they put it in and you match it, 2 to 1 or 3 to 1. It doesn't have to be a 1-to-1 ratio. As far as healthcare goes, what about doing like what the military does? The police officers and firemen themselves get their coverage, and they get their coverage at the best plan possible with whatever agency you guys go with to do the insurance. But their dependents, they get a group rate if you can arrange that, but they have to pay for their wives and children's insurance. So the whole family isn't covered, which is what the current benefit is. Just the actual police officer or fireman. If they want the additional coverage, they have to pay for it for their family. That is. That could cut, when your average family is 4 people, 2.5 kids or 2 kids, well, right there, you're potentially cutting out 2/3 to 3/4 of the insurance expenditures. I mean, the military's doing it, and every year they talk about the military service members, the active duty service members, having to pay part of their own medical. And of course, that's heck no. And I would say the same thing for the police and firefighters. They do a dangerous job. That should be one of their benefits. But as far as their family members go, that's a different story. I think maybe they should have to pay the insurance policies for them, since our fine uniformed military personnel already do that. So that's where I was last night, meeting with the city manager, and met a couple of city council persons, 1 lady, 2 gentlemen, and some other city workers there, including the assistant director of the libraries, who was kind of an interesting person to talk to. He seated at the same table as me, and that was quite enjoyable. Another thing that happened that I noticed when I was in this meeting, though, and this is something I'm going to dig deeper into because I have a burning question. But I looked around the room, and at every single table, there was a member of the SEIU sitting down. And over half the tables, when they did their final presentations on what they wanted to propose as a little micro group, what they agreed to discuss, about half the tables suggested increasing commercial property taxes. Now, the guy presented that to our table sitting there, and I looked at him and was like, sorry, guy, I actually passed my economics classes. I understand the Laffer curve, and I understand supply and demand. You increase, what he wanted to do specifically was commercial property taxes, increase them on hotels. And of course, we know the SEIU has been trying to eke into hotels and increase wages and stuff there. So I wonder if that has anything to do with it, because they're trying to increase the property taxes there on commercial properties, specifically, like I said, the hotels. Why? Why was that even brought up? Why did he even attempt that? I shot him down very quickly. I said, look, a good chunk of our city's revenue comes from sales taxes and entertainment taxes from tourists. You raise the revenues on the property taxes on commercialized hotels and bed and breakfasts, and they're not going to pay those property taxes, not directly. I mean, the check will come from whoever owns that hotel, but they're going to raise their room rates and other amenity rates. So it's going to be the tourists that pay it. Well, when you have the increase in room rates for the hotels and stuff, people are going to be less likely to visit. It's going to be less affordable to go and visit and stay at the Crockett or the Emily Morgan, or one of the hotels up near SeaWorld, and go and enjoy the city and see the Alamo, and go to SeaWorld and Fiesta Texas, Six Flags, and the other great and wonderful things, the San Antonio Tea Garden, which is right next to the zoo and near Brackenridge Park. Nobody's going to want to go and enjoy those great sights that a lot of tourists come in to see, and the Riverwalk area also, which thrives on tourist money. All those shops there, they're kept afloat because of the tourist season. So go ahead and raise those taxes. The room rates go up, tourism goes down, and all the economy starts to hurt. Not smart. And as soon as I told it to the guy, his face turned white, his eyes went wide, and he was like, oh crap, I have somebody who knows economics sitting here. I'm not going to push that one at all. And then somebody else was smart enough and brought up that there are a lot of vacant buildings, commercial buildings, that are for rent or lease. Somebody owns them, but they're not currently gathering any rent because no business is able to fill them. Well, somebody brought up that they're getting a huge tax break. This would not be an increase in tax. It would be a restoration of tax. So the tax that they're paying on these vacant storefront properties that are not filled is the same thing that a commercial property that is filled across the street is paying, as far as the same rate. Now, the same amount might be different, but eliminating some of the breaks, or maybe cutting some of the breaks in half, the refunds in half for the vacant commercial properties. And that I could go for, and that actually made sense, because an empty storefront is not bringing tourism money, and it's not generating any income, and whoever owns it, they own the property. Now they can sell it off, or they can do something with it, but sitting there vacant, it actually is doing nothing for anybody, including them. So maybe it'll incentivize using it to generate some income. And then there's other programs that actually supported increasing, which would help small businesses get started to actually generate some income going for some people, create some jobs and get some money moving through the economy. So that's what I was doing last night. It was kind of exciting to be involved a little bit in a very minor amount at city level politics and kind of seeing what was going on. But again, I just had that burning question, and I'm hoping somebody might be able to cast a little bit of light to me. Throw me an additional bone other than the list of possibilities I have, but why the SEIU will be attending these city budget meetings and suggesting specifically raising property taxes on hotels. Why? Especially since we know the city in general is opposed to any more tax rate increases. You know, after the last one that passed for the pre-kindergarten tax that Julie Castro wanted pushing through. The city really doesn't want more taxes, just like the rest of the nation as a whole is pretty sick of increased tax rates. There's better answers, and one of them, of course, is going to be to cut out some of the ridiculous programs. Money going to things that are not needed. So that's pretty much what the meeting was about. We've bared it down to the more essential things. Is there anything else here that you can deem non-essential, and anything that may need to be increased because we're not doing enough? So it was a good little meeting. I felt like I fish out of water because I looked around and started very quickly to realize I was surrounded by a lot of people who rest a little bit more on the left side of the aisle. So I think the thoughts my wife and I shared with them as we participated kind of made them look and go, yeah, that's actually a smart idea. You know what you're talking about. It's like, yeah, you tax people too much, you're going to run out of other people's money to spend. They're going to pull up tent stakes and move somewhere else where they can actually earn a living without you reaching in their pockets, and tourists ain't going to come here either. So it was interesting time, folks. If you have an opportunity to do that at your own local level, I highly suggest, even if you're not going to say anything, even if you have no desire to actively participate, to at least go and witness it and watch your local government at work, and that could also help you to decide on how much more you want to get involved, especially if you notice areas where it's not working. So that was my Wednesday night. That's how I rounded out my hump day, and not entirely sure yet or not, but may go to another one this evening, this time from a more of a spectator perspective, since I already signed in and actually put in my 2 cents. I don't think it would be very beneficial for me to go traveling meeting to meeting and to say the same things. I already gave my input as doing my concerned citizen civic duty. So, remember, folks, your government works for you if you're willing to dig in and make it work for you, and willing to do your part, because they can't represent you if you don't tell them what you need or what you want, or what they're doing that is messing up things that you want or need. Or really, they shouldn't be giving you anything they want. They should make sure that you can get what you want by working for it yourself, and they're not getting in the way of that, which is what happens way too often these days. So that's the end of my little rant about local politics and getting yourself involved in your own life and how your government works for you. And that brings us to the end of today's show. I have been Paul-Gregory Matuszak, and we are live from 8 to 9 in the morning, Monday through Friday. Our call-in number, if you ever wish or desire to call in, is area code 520-226-8567. Again, that is 520-226-8567. And I've been your host, Paul-Gregory Matuszak. This has been the Mouth of Matuszak Show for Thursday, August 14th, 2014. You all have a great day, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow morning. Bye-bye.